Here we go. Episode. I'll try that again. Here we go with track 6. We are now on Honey Island General Store by Little Mazarn and Acre Memos. Grant, you brought us this one. Tell us about it.
Yeah, the reason it's on this playlist, Brett, you kind of mentioned earlier that, the catastrophe as a gift theme of, and we'll talk about it with Mother Hips later too, like sometimes out of bad things come good things in community. This particular band, Little Mazarn, features Lindsey Verrill as the singer that you hear on here, as well as a few others, Jeff Johnson, who I think they both grew up in Dallas. They live in Austin now, and Carolina, who's from Hemlock. They make a lot of this great music, and it is, I found out about Little Mazarn through Will Johnson. They've supported some of his albums. When Will Johnson released his book, he had an online reading, and they performed a few songs online before he read the book. So it was just kind of like, who are these people in his circle? I'm interested, I'm learning. And Lindsey Verrill has been somebody who every time there has been a catastrophe or something that needs help, she has been the spark in some of the Austin community to start a compilation and raise money. A couple examples are Texas Gold, which was a benefit for whole women's health when the clinics had to move from Texas to New Mexico after the Dobbs decision and Roe v. Wade was overturned. There was a compilation that she helped support. We'll throw some images because the artwork is always really cool on these things too. There was an ATX and AVL with Love flooding in Asheville, so another fundraiser that she threw together. Really great artistic cover there. And then for the LA wildfires, there was also one, If I Could Only Fly. When I think about ways that I can help when there's catastrophes and there's a compilation, I'm going to buy it. I'm going to throw in 20, 30, 40 bucks and know that in return I get this music that might be just like demos or covers or live versions or outtakes. Some of these have like 80 songs on them sometimes, and I still haven't kind of like parsed all the way through them. But it's a gift to me to feel like, and here's my money. Go put it in a good use. This is the way that the music community can come together through sharing some music. It's not necessarily music that's supposed to like make you feel anything. It's just like, here's some songs that all the artists throw together. And Lindsey has been kind of the impetus of that, along with some of the other musicians around there. And so I'm just inspired by that to say your music can do more, your community can do more when these things happen. And as a consumer, here's my money. Thank you for putting that together. Thank you for the music. Of course, Little Mazarn. This is one of their latest tracks, and with Acre Memos, who we featured on episode 11 they were my favorite album of that year of 2022. Eric Adams from Silsbee. He and Lindsey are singing on the song about Honey Island General Store, which is, I think, near Silsbee. It's like northeast of Houston. And I just love the down tempo nature of the song, as well as the see at the general store. And I'm afraid there's not going to be enough for me and stuff. Like there was a lot of kind of similar to the Weaker Thans, where there's like tangible things and then there's some sort of like introspective things that are kind of being thrown around there from like a physical manifestation of a general store having everything you need, and then somebody saying, well, I'm not sure they're going to have what I need, and then talking about its infinity. And there was just some really nice introspection on that list, on the song, as well as some musical like playfulness there. Speaking of musical playfulness, I decided to bring some props because this band, Jeff Johnson plays the singing saw, and when I saw him play it in this Will Johnson reading, I was like, I want that. And so for my birthday a few years ago, I bought myself a singing saw and tried to learn how to play it. So I'm going to give myself an embarrassing moment here and see if I can play it for you. Arrow this down here. This is a first ever for the playlist, so you got to make an S with the thing. If you don't, it's not going to work. So you got to make an S, and then you control the tone. I mean, you're squeezing the thing between your legs, and then you change the tone by running the bow against it and then raising it up or down. So let's give it a shot here.
Grant, we're not getting the sound in the mic. You may need to move the mic closer.
Move the mic. All right, here we go.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can do it a little louder.
No, we're not.
You're not even getting it. All right. Well, that's unfortunate. So.
You might have to turn the noise canceling off for us to get it.
No, that's a bummer. Well, imagine like the coolest possible violin noise you could ever hear coming from a singing saw. But I mean, I was like, "What's this thing?" And the dude
You'll
is
have
making
to add it in post.
wow. Well, you can also hear it in the song, but it's very, very faint in this song. Jeff features it in a lot of Little Mazarn songs, but you can overdo that thing, and they don't overdo it. In Honey Island General Store, you'll hear it more towards the end, but it's very, very buried in the mix. But they have this banjo feel. They have this very, Texas feel. And for me, I struggle sometimes with our home state of Texas, but there is hope and there is good people and there are things that are very positive in this community. And the Little Mazarn and the music scene around the whole Texas area, they are from Dallas but moved down to Austin, so I feel that kinship a bit of what it's like to grow up in Dallas but also be removed from it. So it was nice to see this compilation with Eric Adams from Acre Memos, and just kind of a fun song for musicians that care about supporting the community, and to me that's really valuable. And Catastrophe as a gift, like you said, Brett, to me there's an opportunity to try to bring community together, and Lindsey Verrill is somebody that's called to action when those things happen. I think that's pretty inspiring. So, Sean, I know this is kind of near your neck of the woods, although I don't know if you've ever driven past Honey Island. I think it's the city's called Honey Island on your way to Baton Rouge or something, but I think it's in that general area, maybe a little bit more north of I-10, though.
Well, I looked up where Silsbee was when we talked about Acre Memos before, and so I know where it is, but no, I've never driven through there. I'd like to think that you could just show up at a cafe and all these amazing artists would just be sitting there having a coffee.
Yeah.
But that's probably not the way it works. They're probably locked away in their studio on take number 235 of one of these songs, and all we see is the tip of the iceberg of it all. But I agree. I think the song is nice. The banjo is very well done. The duet nature of it feels very personal. It's got a lot of John Prine style in it, which is relatable. Feels like a campfire song. It feels like a story that a grandma would tell from a porch swing. So I like the relatable element of that. And just, I also like the down-tempo part of it. It gives off a vibe of I'm taking my time. I'm gonna take my time on this. So I like the stories about how community minded they are, and I agree that that's important. And I continue to keep my eyes out for bands like this. Not that Houston is any kind of typical stop for bands that are on tour and things like that, but you never know. So I keep my eyes open, and yeah, I like the song. It's enjoyable when it comes on.
Yeah, I'll echo that. I enjoyed it when it came on. I really appreciated the contemporary nature of it. Nice to get a good mixture of some older songs and some fresher songs. So this was good to get the fresh one, and I figured it was connected to Will Johnson somehow. Like I've got a die over here, and only one of the spots is something other than Will Johnson when I roll the dice to figure out who's influenced Grant's music. So that one came up on Will Johnson, and I'm not surprised. Really cool to hear about the work that they're doing out in the world. I think you mentioned this, but the album that I remember coming out was called Cardinals at the Window, which was actually has a embroidered cover art. Really cool project. There were like over 100 bands that contributed to that after Hurricane Helene. Really sweet idea for what musicians can do. I think that's important for musicians to get out there and help bring us together with music. Whether that's getting people singing or getting people listening. I think that's it does feel like a campfire, Sean. It feels like if this is the 31st hour, then maybe like we've been up all night and the sun's starting to come up, and that's the song that gets played. So that's how I feel about it. It's fun to get the story and to get introduced to this band. Thanks for the intro, Grant.
Yeah, that Cardinals at the Window is another a compilation that came out that wasn't Lindsey Verrill's, but yeah, in that vein of helping out. The last thing I'll say is the video that we'll show you on YouTube is kind of cool. It's like a sketch that Eric Adams, whose Acre Memos is a high school teacher in Silsbee, one of his art students made that video. And so I thought it was really cool. It's like pencil sketch, and then it's erased, and it's like animated in that way. And at one moment, I think there's a couple people shown up, and like Lindsey and Jeff from Little Mazarn or maybe Lindsay and Eric sharing it, like kind of surround the people too. It just was like a very fun thing to know that this was his student adding the artwork to the video. So enjoy the show. Here, listen to the singing saw, and maybe next time I'll figure out how to play that for you.
Nice. Now, we had Acre Memos on another list, right?
Yeah, they were my album of the year in 2022, our first
Okay,
ever.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, here's a listen for Honey Island General Store by Little Mazarn and Acre Memos off the 2023 album with the same name, Honey Island General Store.